Okay, we are almost there. There are only 2 things left. And I think you should stick to the end because I think these 2 are really useful if you know them. So the first thing that we need to investigate further is how we can integrate our GitHub with Cloudflare. So every time when we commit new code, it will automatically trigger a deployment. And then we have there a little pipeline in place, which is really useful. And the last thing is, how can we deal with environmental variables? Since we are dealing here in the context of Cloudflare workers, this is a little bit not tricky, but I think you need to understand it, and then it's like easy to use it. Okay, let's get started. How we can integrate GitHub. Of course, we need to make sure that our code is on the remote side of GitHub. So I will use here the VS Code extension. Therefore, I've added the code, I've committed it, and the only thing I need to do is here to click on publish branch. And now here I can choose the name. I will just leave it as it is, my MCP server. I will make it as a public repository because there's nothing special in there. And now if we go back to our dashboard here on Cloudflare, we go here to settings, then on build, and then we can see here that we can choose GitHub or GitLab. So let's go for GitHub. And then I would choose here my user and then only selected repositories, my MCP server selected from here, and then installed and authorize. Now I need my phone again. So put out your 2-factor and then we can continue. Okay, now we should see this panel here on the right side. Here we can configure on which branch we want to trigger our deployment. So I will leave it here as the master branch. And then we can also specify further the commands, but I guess it's fine if we leave here to the default. So the deployment command is exactly what we've already been using with the npx wrangler deploy. But if you need some build command before, make sure you specify it here. And also we can specify here some API tokens, root directories, or if your MCP server is not on the root but in a deeper level, specify it here. And now I will also choose here a variable name, because for our second demo where we then deal with the environment variables, so I will choose here database, just make it short, db URL, and then I will our db connection URL just for the sake of this demonstration here to edit, and then I will click here on connect. And now we should see this message here. You can now push commit to your Git repository to start your first build. So let's do this. If we go back here and maybe modify some console logs, let's see, instead of result, let's make it final result, and then make sure edit renamed. Then we click here on commit, and then we push the chains, and then let's hover back to the dashboard to see the deployments. Yeah, and we see there's a build in progress. We can also view the build. How cool is that? Now cloning GitHub repository and all the steps. We can have a closer look in here in this terminal to better understand the whole process. I will just now pause and wait till it's finished. Okay, so now I fixed it because I used here the terminal output and I had an error previously, and I deleted the package log since these two were not in sync, the package and the package log, so I deleted it. And if I click here now on the view build, I see that everything now is fine, and it deployed the new version to our workers subdomain, that it's already there. So we now can try out our new change. So remember, we only changed one log, but that's fine for the sake of the demo here. Again, we click here on queries, application logs, and then we set here to live. And let's hit up my Cloud desktop again. Great, and then we see here, we have here now the final result instead of result. Cool, so we have there a little pipeline in place working and is doing the deployment stuff for us.